And last but certainly not least, let's talk about the wild robot. Ricardo, if you don't mind, I want you to do substance for this, right? So,
no problem.
Saw the trailer for this, thought it was really fascinating. I really wanted to see it. But for me, I would have just treated this as, oh, you know, it's just another DreamWorks film, right? And I will confess,
right.
I while I'm not the biggest diehard fan when it comes to DreamWorks, I will not deny that when it comes to some of the most impactful animated feature films ever made, yes, you have to take about DreamWorks.
When it's time for them to cook, they just cook, you know. Like, to me, some of the best DreamWorks up there with the best Pixar. It's just, you know, they haven't been as consistent as Pixar.
That's true.
But when they cook, when they cook, they cook.
Yeah.
There's real cook.
Like this,
I'll say ahead of time, they cook this time.
Oh yes. Yeah. They had a big ass pot and they cooked by, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, while I don't love Shrek, yes, Shrek was impactful, right? That came in at just the right time. Didn't really fancy all of the sequels. I still defend the fourth one, even though in retrospect we could just stop at 3, but whatever. But like for me, still at the moment, well, I should say at the time, up until seeing this now, my favorite DreamWorks film was, like, top one was How to Train Your Dragon. That to me was like, all right, like this is DreamWorks at its highest potential, right? And then this show came out, right? But I'll close this. Another reason why I wanted to see this, Dread, was the amount of praise the show got, though. Like, just early reviews. One reviewer on RogerEbert.com saying that this is one of the best animated films of the decade. We are 4 years into the decade, right? So for somebody to say that, I was like, all right, I need to see this, right? What I find was really interesting too is just looking at it now, is that this came out like roughly a week or so after Transformers 1. CC8 Movie Town, thank you so much for chaining up a man, right? I thought both movies were running at the same time, you know. So I was telling myself, okay, I would go and see both shows on the same day. I had to look closer and realize, no, Wild Robot had come out yet in the States. So I don't understand why they had both movies up on the same day. But yeah, you know, Transformers 1, we saw it, we loved it. But even when I was watching that, I was like, all right, I still have to save a spot for Wild Robot, you know? So Wild Robot finally did come out and, you know, we saw it, right? I'll just close to this, right? I'll bring it up in my review of it, right? Not only do we have 2 great animated films about robots now, but now we have 2 animated films about robots that could get that nomination that could win something next year in Oscars 2025. Imagine that, 2 shows about robots, head-to-head robots. Boom, look at that, right? But yeah, Ricardo, take it away. Wild Robot, what's it about?
Right, so yeah, Wild Robot is a book series kind of thing about robots.
It's a series? I thought it was just one book.
It's a series of books, from what I understand.
Okay.
You know, so it's kind of like oh gosh, with his boy, it kind of remember a little bit like Wilder People. Oh gosh, Where the Wild Things Are. That's what I was thinking of. That's the book series that was translated, but it was live action.
Yeah, still haven't seen that show though, but I'll get
there's James Gandolfini in it, and taking it real on.
Right, yeah, I know it hard. I just never got around to watching it though, but I'll yeah.
So yeah, it's about a robot who, you know, Roz, the robot who went missing. She went missing from her society. We're not sure what's going on with that society as it is, but you know, it just seemed to be like a kind of post-apocalyptic kind of something, right? And so how it's framed is like a kind of backward Wall-E kind of thing, like a kind of reverse Wall-E almost in some ways. And it's just her now, because of her programming, she don't really have a job to do. She had to like overwrite her own programming and I say her because it's voiced by Lupita Nyong'o. It's the character is clothed female and it's framed as a mother, the character. And the character Roz, this is Lupita Nyong'o. She, you know, just overwrites her. What she does something to allow her to make sense of the animals, because it's only animals, only non-human animals, even though humans exist in this world. And then she basically work out ways to save these animals and serve them. And then eventually she meets a goose to fix this goose life effectively. And that is what it is, to raise a goose. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, basically just her raising these animals and taking care of them, and you're not sure what and why going on in terms of the history of this race and who doing what and how to make sense of everything going on. And that is what we get. We eventually get a really fascinating kind of story about this robot having to like constantly overwrite her programming to take care of these animals and the animals in relation to her. And it's a nice little found family storyline. And that's basically what it is. It's just found family, putting together and then having to, it have multiple storylines involving the robot improving their life and improving things as it was. And yeah, that is about it. And I thought this was great, right? I felt it could have been, there's one thing in it that kind of bothered me a little bit. It didn't kill the movie or kill it, but I get why they did it. But I would have played more, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, and I played things more Pixar. I just felt because, they give a plot reason as to why the animal's talking, right? It's not that the animal's talking, it's because she could translate, she have translation technology, universal translator technology.
Yeah.
And that's why. But the problem is that and again, this is just me nitpicking real world science in the goofy cartoon, but animals still won't relate in that way, and I felt they made the animals too anthropomorphic and anthropocentric. It didn't hurt it,
but I'll talk about it. Yeah,
I get why they did that, and it didn't hurt it as much as I thought it would have, because when the movie got to that point, I was like, oh god, they fucking doing this, boy. They really got like give me some Disney bullshit, boy, and the animals talking, and because I really thought we was gonna get like if you remember this really great short film that Pixar put out, remember Piper?
Oh,
I thought we were gonna get something like that.
Loved Piper.
Right, remember that win? Yeah, remember that?
It won an Oscar.
Right. But I thought we were gonna get something like that, where it's silent and everything is gonna be real silent, and we get it at the beginning. So I was thinking, oh, that's gonna be the whole movie, and a little bit of talking, but there's more like how WALL-E was, where in the first part of WALL-E, where it's all visual.
No.
Right, visual information and visual humor and just you're just watching things through how they act and behave and body language. But then the characters started talking, like the fox started talking and the bear started talking and the goose started talking and so on and so forth. And I was like, it turned me off a little bit, but we still get that.
Yeah.
But it's not WALL-E, and it really feels like DreamWorks WALL-E. Like this feeling like a DreamWorks.
I was about to say,
a little bit.
It's a DreamWorks thing. I had to acclimatize it too, but I was like, you know what? It's a DreamWorks thing. Okay,
and I thought, the comparison, with DreamWorks. I always think of the comparison of DreamWorks and Pixar is like it's kind of like a reflection of Warner Brothers and Disney back in the days. That's how I always think about it. Where one is relying more on pop culture stuff and more references and more, anachronistic humor, at least modern humor, but reference to the future or the past or whatever it is. And then you have, the timeless storytelling of Disney and Pixar to a certain extent. And that is what this kind of did, because I find the characters talking like modern people. And it's good voice acting, but like, it's just a bunch of bros. Like the fox is like the sly fox and he talking. I think it's Pedro Pascal's the fox here. But I can't help but think of the fox from Zootopia, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's that, right? He's a sly fox, but he's like he kind of sneaking around the forest like a weird asshole. And who's the voice for the bear? I forget. I think it's Mark Hamill, I think.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw that. I was
think
like,
so.
What?
Right. Yeah, and it's all of that, right? And it didn't that pulled it down slightly for me, but it didn't hurt it as much as it did. Why? Because it really gets into a great character-driven storyline with these animals and her as the robot raising them, and then you ultimately find out, even though they didn't really get into like the actual reasons as to why, you ultimately find out where she comes from and why and what she was built for, and what was the reasoning for X, Y, and Z, and why she got lost in the first place, and they do all of that. And I thought it comes together really well. That first act is great. The first half and the first act in particular really good. The middle stuff, where I thought would have been terrible, it resolves reasonably well, but I thought it would have been like, all right, it's fine. But like they just do a bunch of like they string together a bunch of like nice little short films in this one story and then tie everything together really well. And it's just excellent storytelling, and again, not brilliant animation, not cutting edge animation, but that's good animation, that's competent. just competent stuff. Like just good, and they just tell a good story, and good voice acting that comes together particularly well. I know last time I kind of complained about the voice acting with Transformers. No, I didn't complain at all because I thought Lupita in particular was quite good because she had to do the data thing, right? Where how to be a robot, but you have to turn to a human, but you have to have some emotions with your humanness. You're playing that.
She nailed the cheerfulness in her voice,
Right, but you're right. So you have to balance it really well. You have to do that balancing actor, and she nails it. She nails it really, really well. Very few people. That's very difficult to do anything about it. And she's I don't really think of her as a voice actor so much, but I forget. Oh yeah, right. She was in Star Wars, and she was pretty good in that. And you didn't think she was in Star Wars, especially somebody as attractive as her, right? Anytime you think of her, you just think of that, right? Or at least me, right?
Right? Me too.
Right. But yeah, so I thought she was particularly excellent in this. And everybody else was good. Mark Hamill, again, unrecognizable. Again, when you think of Mark Hamill, you think Joker, or you think Joker-esque like characterization. No, sounds totally different, plays somebody so totally different. He feels completely different. It's kind of like what movie he was? The TV show he was on Netflix, Usher.
Oh yeah, Follow the House of Usher.
Yeah. Right. But he was somebody totally different in that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Just like real low voice. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so that was good. And then I thought the only person who was kind of a weakling, but not really, was the goose. I forget the actor's name. The baby goose.
That would be Kit Connor. Yeah.
Right.
Like the name, but like I feel like he was in his Dark Materials, that show, but I never watched that show, so I don't know him, to be honest. I don't know, like if you were to ask me what show he was in, I'd be like, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was pretty good, just competent and smart, and I can't say I super loved it or anything like that, but I could see it winning awards. It didn't change my life. It's not WALL-E. I can't put it on WALL-E level, right? I think WALL-E better than this and was years ago, right? But it up there, and it's really well done. And yeah, I think DreamWorks cook here. Well done.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, wow. If I were to compare to WALL-E, yes, WALL-E is the better film, right? Just because of the world that they create there, that's the way how they approach the material, right? This one, I like that even though you're supposed to kind of buy into it sort of realistically in a way. I like that it sort of embraces its cartoonness, right? So case in point with the animals, when they first introduced, one thing that really surprised me, that's before we even hear them talk, right? It's how they sort of move in a sort of a slapstick Looney Tunes kind of style, right? So there's numerous moments like early on, right, when Roz actually finds herself on this island, right? Yeah, she's trying to move about, but these animals are running away or they're attacking her or whatnot, and it's all done in this purposefully Looney Tunes kind of style. When you see it, you know what I'm talking about, right? Very over the top, right? I think that's like a nice little setup for when she actually learns all of their languages, if so to speak, right? The way, why we could kind of eventually accept the fact that yes, in the world of the wild robot, yes, these animals are talking like talk like bros though. You don't talk like in the real world, like in the current world, right? That's how they talk here, right? But it works, right? And and also too because it's DreamWorks, so yes, we kind of have to have characters. We have to have more than one character talk here, right? It can't just be Roz all through the show, right? So in the show's defense, that makes a lot of sense, right? But it's not like say How to Train Your Dragon, where the animals were just like the dragons were talking, like they weren't even talking, they were just emoting like creatures, but it was just humans talking throughout the show, right? So
that's the thing. I really thought that if you're doing the translation thing, it would have been like that. Like if it's simpler and the language is simpler, but it's like people that's talking in a bar.
Yeah,
like it's normal. That's a problem. Like again, it is slightly hurted, but it don't hurt it completely.
Yeah.
It just I really wish it was like the language was framed a little differently.
Right.
I don't know, whatever.
All right. Well, I understand.
It's me nitpicking about language, right?
I understand that nitpick though, but I think in terms of just accessibility, it makes sense, right? And for the kids in the audience, they could tune in and they could get on board, right? And not have to overthink things or like like, mommy, why that one animal talking so and the next one talking so, right? It's like that, right? That being said, though, where the story goes really surprised me, actually. Like, I just thought it was just simply gonna be about this robot surviving in this forest and learning to survive with the animals, but I didn't think it was going to go in the direction it went, in particular with her forming this motherly bond with this Gosling, right? Played by Kit Connor. He plays Bright Bill. I didn't see that coming a mile away, right? And yet it just added so much heart to the film, right? Because ultimately, like, at first I thought it was just about a robot learning the ways of the wild now, what I mean? So I take it that's why it's called the wild robot, right? There's actually another reason why, but I'm not gonna spoil it, right? That actually has to do with a really great moment in the film. But I thought it was just about her learning about the ways of nature, but no, it's actually about her learning what it means to be a mother, right? Going against her protocols, if you will, right? I was gonna say self-made, but they actually, pre-programmed protocols, right? Just going against that. I like that, right? If I have a gripe, though, it's kind of minor, is that the antagonist, like the way how the antagonist was brought up makes sense. Not gonna spoil how it happens, but that actually surprised that McGill, Stephanie Sue, that's all I'll say without spoiling much, was voicing character. Hey, Stephanie Sue, McGill, yo, you should have won that Oscar, but yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis won. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Yeah.
Okay.
But not saying that the character should have been brought in earlier, but I just felt like the way how that character was brought in at that moment was almost like, okay, we kind of need a villain here because the show wrapping up and we really need to reach this emotional high. So let me just bring this villain here at this point. And then to make things even more big, just to make raise the stakes even more, let me have like Roses, but they meal and they bad because they're more like worker bees and they have to follow Stephanie Sue's orders. So yeah, these are the bad guys that our heroes eventually have to vanquish. It kind of came off like that at first, but I was just so invested in the story at that point. I was just like, what, yeah, the villains came in late and I not see, but then again, looking at it now, I don't like, all right, like a part of my wish is that they could have been brought in earlier, but where they came in was, I would say, an appropriate time, right? That's all I'll say without spoiling.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's appropriate, right? They came in at the right time. I just felt it could have been a little earlier. That's all, right? Animation is great in my opinion, right? Not groundbreaking or anything like that though, but it's great though. I do like how it's not, they're not going for realism as well. They're not going for over realism, but like just the design of the creatures as well too looks not lifelike, but they're cartoony enough, but they feel like real characters, if you will, right? I do love the design of the robot as well. I have a feeling it's related to how the robot itself is designed in the book. Like I assume it's the same thing, right? Same design and whatnot, with the legs and the arms and whatnot, how it extends. Like I feel like that's a trait, like that's like how you see it in the movie is exactly how it is in the book, right? That's what I see it. Lupita Nyong'o, she is great as Roz, though. I love how, how eventually her character is given more character. That's the best way I could sum it up, right? I thought it's like really funny how she just going about like these commands or these voice commands. Hello, do you want to do this? Or do you want assistance in that? Like, it's funny. Especially hearing her say it though, because she just have this really, really sweet voice. Yeah, it works. But that's the deadpan, monotone voice that she does. The robotic voice. That's the best way I could sum it up, right? But yeah, those moments with Bright Bill are great. How Bright Bill sees the world, seeing that Roz is his mother, works, and how he eventually becomes what he's destined to be really works as well. And before I get too carried away with just the relationships there, right? At the end of the day, the heart of the show really rests on that, right? But then there's also a great relationship between Roz and Fink, who is played by Pedro Pascal. If you had told me early on that Pedro's voice, I would be like, nah, Pedro, nah. But when I saw that name, I was like, holy shit, Pedro?
Yeah.
You everybody's favorite dad now. We could see him next in Last of Us Part 2 or Chapter 2 or Season 2, whatever you want to call it. You play this? Okay, wow, you are arranged, bro. Respect, right? But boy, I would not lie to you. I knew the show was going to hit me in the feels, huh? I knew when it was going to happen, though. Sorry, where it was going to happen. I just didn't know when. And I will not lie to you, Dread. You can laugh at me as much as you want to. When that moment happens, you'll know it when it happens. Everything came out to the water.
I get what they make.
Random.
They make the call.
Because when is a line that is dropped though, and it's how it hit, and the visuals, the music, and everything. Boy, I lost it, I lost it. And then just up to the end, boy, your boys' eyes were watered. They were like drenched, Dread, you know. The show just hit me in the feels like that. And it wasn't like forced or shoehorned though. It was so genuine and organic, Dread, and it works, right? Because I bought into the fact that a robot could look at this bird and be like, I am your mother, I'm going to protect you, right? And at the end of the day, that's what the show is about. It's about, just about being a parent, not just being a mother, but just being a parent and having to figure yourself out, having to figure things out. Because I love how Roz doesn't know what to do, right? She doesn't know how to take care of this chick, but eventually grows into like a full bird, and she had to figure things out along the way, right? And then of course she had help as well, right? Also points to Catherine O'Hara. I thought that she was great as the possum. That's the bit with her and her 7 kids was great. And like one thing the show was really surprised on is how it touches on death. Cause you had these kids talking about, this is how we fake our deaths and all that kind of stuff, and how they see death, right? How they see death in particular. But then, of course, if you know about possums, how they,
right. They're playing faking dead.
They fake it dead, they play it dead, it adds a lot to it, right? So the show doesn't get too deep into, just being a mom or being a parent or death or life and all that kind of stuff, but it's there. It's not too heavy, it's not shoehorned, it doesn't beat you over the head with it, but it's there, and it just adds so much to the show itself, right? And just where it went, and just the little twists and turns here and there, really caught me by surprise, right? But overall, at the end of the day, boy, I was thoroughly entertained by this. I was thoroughly pleased by this. And like I say, just that third act, boy, your boy eyes were watered throughout that moment, throughout those moments. So right up to the very end, when I hear that song, I was like, boy, gosh, I should really like wipe my eyes, no boy, but I still teary-eyed at this point. Why is the show doing this to me, right? But that's just a testament to the great writing, the great story, the great world building, I should say, right? And just the great characterization that we get here, right? And that's lastly, before we get to rate it, boy, Roz, boy, is just such a great character. Just how she grows as a robot feels logical. It feels like really thought out. Just how it plays out, right? But I could talk long enough about this, but this is one of the best shows I've seen all year. Will it be in my top 5? I would love for it to be there. Like, I could find a spot for it there. I'm not saying this number 1 for me right now, but this is definitely top 10 material for me. But this is one of the best, I would say the best animated film I've seen all year, and this is coming off like a week or so after I saw friggin' Transformers 1, you know what I mean? And I love that film as well. But I knew when I was watching Transformers 1 that I was going to love the show even more. And I do, right? So again, as I said before, 2 animated movies about robots definitely gonna get nominated, boy. But it'd be so funny if some Japanese anime film come and wash out both of them, like how Boy the Heron did this year, But I call this right now Wild Robot Best Animated Feature 2025 Oscars. I call it right now. Right. CFME rating wise, decent 4.5 out of 5. But this is one of the best films I've seen all year. Definitely see it in theaters if you can. But if you want to wait till it comes out on digital, But I'll just throw this example out there too. So kind of like Encanto, which also came out near Christmas. I imagine when people see this at home, boy, people will come out the woodworks and say, yes, this is one of the best films, one of the best animated films they've seen all year, right? But I say this too because around Christmas time, Disney gonna put out their animated work, which is Mufasa. So I'm curious to see how.
I still have no clue how that's going to turn out.
I am going for Barry Jenkins. That's all I'm going for. I'm going for Barry. I'm going for the director, right? But
I still have no idea what's gonna happen with this.
But something tells me.
I mean, especially in the context of James Earl Jones passing this.
But something tells me that while Robot could come out around the time, like near Christmas, I have a feeling they're gonna come out then, and people might talk about that just a little bit more than Mufasa when that drops theatrically, right? But when we time will tell, right? But for now, yeah, one of the best films I've seen all year. I can't recommend this film enough. But yeah, Ricardo, your final thoughts to rate it.
Yeah, I thought this was just so well done and competent. It didn't blow me away, but it have a lot of great moments. I think because again, as I say, my black and heart, the script was a little unpredictable in terms of like where it was going and what it was doing. And to me, it designed itself to skew younger, but it for what it is, it's still really good, really well done. But I'll admit I see a lot of this before, and I kind of know where it was going, but still loved it. Still absolutely loved it. Still well executed. Still well placed and well done. Yeah, rated I'll give it like a 8 out of 10, closer to a 9 if anything. This was just solid business all throughout for me.
You and your black and heart, you're gonna get this thing on 9 1 2.